this is Luis. You are welcome back, and in this video we are going to talk about groups. We've talked about some of the objects in Active Directory like users, organizational units, but we've not talked about groups. But before we can share files and folders, we have to look at one of the things that makes sharing of files and folders very easy, and that is groups. So groups are used to collect user accounts, computer accounts, and other group accounts into manageable units. Working with groups instead of with individual users helps simplify network maintenance and administration. There are two types of groups in Active Directory. We have distribution groups and then we have security groups. So all that groups are used for is they are used to organize users into one unit so that when you want to apply settings and then permissions, it becomes easy. Let's say you have like 200 users and then you have to make sure you grant them access to a particular folder. And normal circumstance, you have to select each user one after the other and then grant them access to the file or folder. But then when you use groups, you can create a group and then put the users in the group, and then whatever right you give to the group automatically will be inherited by the users because they are members of the group. So we have two types of groups. We have distribution groups and then we have security groups. Now distribution groups are used to create email distribution lists, and then security groups are used to assign permissions to shared resources. So distribution groups can be used only with email applications such as Exchange to send email to collection of users. So if you have an Exchange application in your environment and then you wish to send email to a group of users, then you can create a group, and the group type will be a distribution group. And then once you send the mail to the group, automatically all the members in that group are going to receive that mail. So distribution groups are not security enabled. This means that if you have any file or folder and you right click on the permissions and then you want to apply permission to a group, any group that is a distribution group is not going to be listed as part of the groups that are going to be listed there for you to apply the permission to. So if you want a group that you would be able to apply permissions to, then that group has to be a security group. So security group can be used for two things. You can use security group to assign rights through policies to users, and then you can also use security group to assign permissions also to users. So instead of listing or going through one by one selecting individual users, then you can create a group and then put the members in the group and then assign the permission to the group, and automatically the permission is going to apply to the users. Now we have three group types in Active Directory. Actually, there is a fourth one, which is the local group, but then that one has to do with the normal computer. But in the domain environment, we have the universal group, we have the global group, and then we have the domain local group. So any group, whether it is a security group or a distribution group, is characterized by a scope that identifies the extent to which the group is applied in the domain tree or forest. So depending on the boundary or how far you want the group to extend, a group can either be a universal group, a domain local, or a global group. So the boundary or reach of a group scope is also defined by the domain functional level setting on the domain in which it resides. So there are three group scopes: domain local, global, and then universal group. So domain local group. A domain local group is a security or distribution group that can contain universal groups, global groups, other domain local groups from its own domain, and account from any domain in the forest. You can give domain local security group rights and permission on resources that reside only in the same domain where the domain local group is located. So that is something that you want to keep in mind. Then we have the global group. Global group is a group that can be used in its own domain, in member servers, and in other workstations of the domain, and in trusted in trusting domains. In all those locations, you can give a global group rights and permissions, and the global group can become a member of local groups. However, the global group can contain user accounts that are only from its own domain. Global group can contain users, computers, and groups from same domain, but not universal groups. It can also be a member of a global group or the same domain. Domain local groups or universal groups of any domain in the forest or trusted domains. Then finally, we have the universal group. This is a security group or a distribution group that contains users, groups, and computers from any domain in its forest as members. You can give universal group rights and permission to resources in any domain in the forest. So universal groups can contain users and groups from global and universal from any domain in the forest. Universal groups do not care about trust, and then universal groups can be a member of domain local groups or other universal groups, but not global groups. So basically, this is the type of groups that we have, and so I'm going to walk you through how to create a group, and we are going to create some groups that we'll be using for our file sharing. So I'm just going to get out of this and then minimize this, and then back to our AD. Okay, so this is my Active Directory domain controller view. I'm going to go to full screen, and then we are going to create a group. So come to Server Manager, and basically creating a group is just like the way we've been creating objects in Active Directory. You right click the container where you want it to be, and then you can create the group there. So tools, and then Active Directory users and computers. So I'm going to create a group in HR, and then I'm going it's going to be HR users, and then there will be another group that will be HR managers. So right click this, expand. So under the users of HR, you right click new group, and we are going to call it HR users. Okay, now it has to be a global group. It has to be a global group, and then the group type also has to be a security group, because we are going to be using this to assign permissions. So we say okay, then we right click again, new group, and then we'll call it HR managers. Okay, then we come to MIS, the same thing, the same process, new group. So we have MIS users. Okay, and then right click again, new group, MIS managers. Okay, then we come to sales. So we are going to have new group, sales managers. Then there will be another group, new and then sales and then users. Alright, now after you have created groups, you can add users to a group. So as you can see here, we have the sales managers, and then the type is that it is a security group, and then it is a global group. Are we okay? So to add a user to a group, there are quite a ways you can do it. One is you can just right click on the user and then go to add to a group. So I can say add to a group, then I just have to type the name of the group and then click check names. So I have sales managers and sales group. So okay, this person has to be a sales user. So I have a user called sales users, and I say okay, so the add to group operation was successfully completed. You have a user called A Solomon, and he's a member of the sales managers group. So when I double click on this and then I go to member of, you see he's part of the sales users group. Then when I come to the sales users, and I go to members, I should see him there, A Solomon. The other way is we can just select all the users. Let's say the first 5, right click on them and say add to a group. Then we can still type sales, check names, so sales users again, and say okay, and then okay. So now all of them have become members of the group. So this is a simple way of adding the users to the group. It makes adding users to the group very easy. So what we are going to do is we are going to plan our system out. I'll put a chart down, and then we'll be able to decide who is going to be in which group, and then based on that we will look at how to create our files and folders. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.